up here that I'm the last speaker between you guys and happy hour. So I'm going to just quickly take you through a 97-page slide deck that I worked multiple months on and should only take about an hour. Is that cool? Buckle in. No, I'm just kidding. I also realized that pretty much everything in this deck has been said or covered. So that's the other benefit of going last, is I can just slide through some of these topics because you guys are yeah, already heard that. All right, so the first thing I think every good presentation needs is a video. So let's start with a video.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
Not yet.
Hey, are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No!
Are we there yet?
Yes.
Really?
No!
Are we there yet?
No!
Are we there yet?
No, we are not!
Are we there yet?
No!
Does this feel familiar to you guys? Maybe just a little. Do you relate to Shrek or the donkey? Because some days I feel like Shrek and other days I feel like the donkey, and I'm not sure about you guys, but it can be confusing for me. But thank you for letting me come up and share the Lowe's journey with you. We have only been on our journey for about 2 years, so I feel like in some ways we're still way behind and we're trying to fast track some things to play catch up. And in other ways, I feel like we have learned so much from the industry that when we did start, we kind of hopefully avoided a few of the pitfalls that other companies have experienced. But, like all transformations, it's been filled with good weather, bad weather, lots of twists and turns. I guess I should probably use this clicker here, right? So quick introductions. I'm Jean Resener. I'm going to pull Roger up with me, and I also brought another friend with me that works with me at Lowe's who's going to talk a little bit about some of the DevOps work we've done. So those guys are going to come up here in just a minute with me. So for those of you who don't know Lowe's, I'll set the scene a little bit. First, I'm going to ask a question. Does anybody have an affinity for home improvement? Okay, raise your hand if you have an affinity for shopping at Lowe's. You don't have to be nice. Raise your hand if you like to shop at Home Depot. Raise your hand if you go to whoever's closest to your house. Yes, okay. You ever notice a Lowe's and a Home Depot are within a mile of each other at all times? Yeah, there's a reason for that. So Lowe's is actually a pretty old company. We have been around for over 65 years. And came up from the ground. It was a family-run company, so very traditional, a lot of just sort of this old, North Carolina culture. Grew very, very rapidly in the 90s, and then sort of reached the pinnacle of, having 1,700 stores, $60 billion in revenue. And then around the 2000s, something happened. Home Depot started chasing us hard and started kicking our butts. And they've been doing it since then. They've been beating us in revenue, they've been beating us in operating income, and worst of all, they've been killing us on stock price. So it wasn't just IT needed to change, it was the company needed to change. But our IT organization was even, I think, in a little bit more peril because we had run up some crazy IT costs. Our cost of doing business was just compounding year over year over year, and our CIO was kind of looking at the numbers going, if we don't change something, we're all going to be fired. So I'm going to take you on a little journey with us. As all journeys are, we started off 2 years ago, super excited. The weather was sunny. There were 3 of us that were voluntold and invited to come build the Agile Transformation Office, and we were like, yes, it's going to be amazing. Jumped in the car. We had snacks. We had a full tank of gas. We were like ready to go, right? And we also realized we're also running a little late. Like, we got to get this thing going. So we picked a partner. We started bringing in coaches, and we took off with, creating practice areas. We knew we needed practice areas. We needed our executive sponsorship, so we spent a lot of time working on that, creating our vision and mission, getting awareness of what we were doing out there. Focused a lot on mindset training, like, let's make sure people know this is a change in mindset. And right around that time, a chief digital officer showed up and said, hey, you guys don't have product managers here. How are we supposed to digitally transform without that? So that kind of actually gave us great tailwinds, because we were kind of looking around going, who's going to be the product owners on all these teams? Like, we haven't even thought about that. So that kind of helped get some momentum for us. Okay, so about 4 months in, the weather started getting a little bit cloudy. Things were still pretty good, though. Our HR organization actually was involved, helping to support us, helping us to figure out, like, what are we going to need to do in terms of helping to support our employees that maybe we're going to change roles or have to learn all this new stuff. We had identified some areas we wanted to begin the transformation with, mentioned the chief digital officer, but the CEO had just been swapped out, right? So remember, we've been getting our butts kicked by Home Depot, and the board of directors said, we need a new CEO, we need fresh blood in here, so let's bring in somebody new, a guy named Marvin Ellison, who used to work at Home Depot. So guess who he brought with him? Some people that used to work with him at Home Depot, and they're all set out on revenge towards Home Depot now. So it's really kind of fun to watch that go down. They are really out for blood. It's really kind of hysterical, but it was a little concerning. We had spent all this time getting sponsorship from these business leaders, and they were like super into it and excited, and now it's like, oh God, we got like all these new people, but we just got started, so it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so 8 months in, and holy crap, we should have expected it, but we didn't. We lost our CIO. So he left the company, and he was our sponsor, right? So he was the one who said, we got to do this, we got to get this Agile transformation really going, we can't leave it up to chance anymore. He's gone. And we're sort of like adrift, like, oh my God, like, turn on the headlights and the windshield wipers. We're not sure where we're going anymore. I think we might be lost. So, we slowed down a little bit. We started looking around. We had continuous leadership changes that were going on the business, right? So we bring in the new executive leadership team. What do? They start changing out the people under them. And then we realized that HR was kicking off their own transformation. Because it's not enough to have one transformation in a company. Let's face it, like, if you can have like 5 or 6 all going on in parallel, isn't that better? So we had the digital transformation, the Agile transformation, the HR transformation, a network transformation, and then of course we're also trying to transform our technology stack because it was built in the 1960s in some cases. So we had a lot going on, but HR kind of said, hey, let us know if you need us, but we got our own thing now we got to go do. So, it was a little bit rocky for a while, so we just kind of hunkered down and we said, let's focus on how do we see this working? What do we think this operating model is going to look like? So we focused in on that, and then we really just started partnering with our product management organization because we felt like they could help bring a lot of this to life for us. All right, so we get down the road. Now we're about a year into the journey. We have a new CIO, and we're so excited. She came from a competitor, well, not a direct competitor, but another retailer who is known maybe for having a dojo. You guys heard of that? So we were excited. We're like, yes, we got somebody who knows how to spell Agile. This is phenomenal. We were very excited about that. And we had really, started to see a little bit of the business settle down. There was still some reorging going on. But then we realized, with a new CIO, we're going to have some technology reorgs now that are probably going to happen. So we kind of had to go through some of those. And they're still happening a little bit, but they're starting to settle down. But the other thing we did was we at least started to try and define what our initial portfolios were going to look like. And don't confuse this with like value stream safe portfolios, because we are like so far from that right now, but more lines of business portfolios. But at least we said, hey, we think we know what a portfolio even is. We can say the word, and we're starting to say the word products, right, which was a big deal for us. So we're starting to define portfolios of products. We all have to say it together with each other on a frequent basis to remind ourselves what we're doing. So now we're about 2 years in, and we all have a really good sense of humor now, because if you cannot laugh at this stuff, you'll go crazy. So what have we done? So we've actually accomplished a lot, like in the last 6 months. It's almost like some of the floodgates have opened, and I think part of the reason is we've got this great new CIO in place, and she's been partnering with our CFO, and so we've started actually doing things like we have enterprise visibility room that I'll let Roger come and talk about in a second. We're doing some Agile funding pilots right now, which is super exciting. And we're actually getting ready to start the dreaded 2020 planning process, but we're actually going to stuff some lean portfolio techniques into it to try and help like release the overhead, the burden that's going to create on the organization. We're starting to also see, we've launched about 50 or 60 teams now across the organization, and we're starting to see that typical thing emerge where they're like, yeah, but how do we get work done together now? So we're starting to try and dig into like, how do we get these cross-portfolio, cross-product teams to actually deliver together, that team of teams, big room planning. And then we realized our technology roles are super out of date. We have roles that don't exist anymore sitting out in our inventory, and we have new roles that haven't been written. So now we're kind of going through that process of going, yeah, we don't really have business analysts anymore, we have product managers. Hey, we've got these guys called Scrum Masters, like what, they are not anywhere in this picture. So we're kind of going through that process at the same time. So just a lot of balls in the air right now, but it's fun. So I thought it would be fun to take the enterprise business journey, the business agility journey, and kind of give ourselves a little score using Sally's pre-crawl, crawl, walk, run, fly. I'm sure you guys all know that one, right? You know what that, okay. So I'm gonna invite Roger and Brett to also come up, because they're gonna help talk about some of the areas that we are working on, and give me a chance to breathe here for a second. So as you guys know, this isn't really meant to be a linear path, right? Like most companies kind of dabble in a few of these things at once, and one kind of, ultimately you're not gonna get good at the things on the right until the things on the left are kind of stable, but like I said, we're trying to fast track, so you're gonna see us like kind of experimenting in a few of these different areas. So the first is team agility. So with team agility, we've launched about 50 or 60 teams. We have some great partners at C Prime that helped us develop our team launch pattern, which is essentially sort of a 5-day, like 10-day, like hyper-focused immersion with the team to help them learn and set up their working agreements, kind of get them through the storming phase quickly. And in some cases, we have some really great cross-portfolio teams that are stood up. So I'm gonna give us a walk, although it kind of depends on like where you look in the organization. But overall, I think we're doing pretty well there. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on the day.
Okay, team of teams agility. So I'm going to let Brett talk a little bit about this one. So this is the area we're really starting to step into pretty heavily here. Like I mentioned, we've got a lot of teams out there. They're trying to figure out how to plan together. On top of it all, they got to figure out how to release together. And the leadership and culture thing is kind of either creating great tailwinds or kind of holding the teams back. I think the biggest area we're focused on right now is the DevOps space, which Brett Bender is the lead for our DevOps practice. So I'm going to let him talk about that one.
So, I mean, we reached out to probably 3 or 4 different organizations before we started our transformation, and everything that the theme we heard across multiple companies was that we started our Agile transformation, we started going, everything was great, and then we ran into DevOps, right? We ran into we can't get out the door fast enough. We've got technical debt. We've got processes that don't work, right? So we knew that this was coming. We kind of said, when we start our Agile transformation, maybe 6 months delayed from when we started the Agile transformation, we started the DevOps transformation, because we knew that this was an opportunity for us to really get ahead of that curve.
Right.
I mean, if you think about any company our size, right? We've got 1,800 stores across domestic. We've got 65 years worth of debt and legacy systems that, they have processes that have been baked in over many, many decades. At the same time, we've optimized our processes around blocking production, right? We've got processes around change management, processes of audit, compliance, security. There were 11 different groups between I am code complete and I want to put it to my customer. So that's the journey that I'm on right now. It's really a bimodal journey. Just kind of give you a little more insight into how I'm approaching this. The first path we've been going on, obviously we're doing team agility and we're starting to push into team of teams. It's how do we start embedding some of these DevOps practices around release practices, testing, build, operate, monitoring, some of those things that are really just good core disciplines around how to deliver software. Embedding that within those departments, right? So that they're upskilling along that journey. At the same time, the other mode that we're running in is how do I break down all those walls, right? I've got years of walls in between production that accountability has to shift from it's my job to protect production to I'm gonna hand that off to the teams and they can own that. And it's my job just to give them the tools they need to be successful, right? So obviously it's a lot of just hand-holding and it's gonna be okay, we're gonna get through this, it's not gonna be that bad. But generally speaking, that's the journey that we're on. I'm trying to attack it that way. And I think the third, and it's learning from some peers in the room, is how do I then pivot that to more of a you come to our organization to learn and experience the right way to do things, as opposed to we're doing it to you, right? So right now we're doing DevOps to you or we're doing agility to you. We're trying to pivot that to when you're ready, and these are the controls we're saying what ready means, come to us and we're going to help you through that next phase of your journey, right? So that's the third mode that we're going to try to push into in 2020. So
are we there yet?
Don't I wish? That was my 5 minutes. I had to summarize
about
all
now?
of
Are we there
DevOps
yet?
in 5 minutes. So
All right, so we gave ourselves a toddle on this one. It's somewhere in between crawling and walking. We've had about 3 big room planning events, we call them, similar to think of a PI planning event, that have been good. They're not great yet, but they were good. So much so that we're going to do another few. And like he said, we're making some progress in terms of getting pipelines built and teams actually starting to see how their code can actually move out into production in less than 6 weeks.
some are actually measuring their throughput, which is at least on the DevOps side of how long code complete to it's in production. So there's actually some metrics we're starting to see.
That's exciting.
And fixing infrastructure and some of those other support things, I left that off the agenda, but there's a lot of enablers that we're going after to improve just the overall throughput and value.
Now? Are we there yet?
No. Thunder. Oh my God. It's like, hurry up, Gene. Okay. Org agility. So this is the area that I have a passion for. I love lean portfolio management. I kind of discovered it back in 2011 or so when I dorked out and read Dean Leffingwell's book back to back. Like, who does that? I don't know. I must have had too much time on my hands, but I got sucked into it at that point, and I was lucky at my last company where they actually let me experiment, implement with a lot of different stuff that he had talked about, and we had some really good success with it. So now I'm trying to bring it to a much larger scale, and it's been really cool to see. Coming into 2020, like I mentioned earlier, we're actually going to be using something as simple as WizGIF. I know, shocker, right? Weighted shortest job first. We're going to be using that model to try and actually increase our ability to get our 2020 plan written and do it with a lot less overhead, right? We're not going to do these crazy estimates anymore. The other thing we've been working on is enterprise visibility rooms. So Roger, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So from an enterprise, how many folks use enterprise visibility room out there? Show of hands, a few, okay. So to Gene's point with visualizing the portfolio, one of the challenges that we were trying to solve was how do we take the strategic capabilities that our executives laid out and how do we actually execute them? How do we visualize the work across portfolios? So we were able to put up, taking the lead from Vistaprint, we were able to put up an enterprise visibility room for one of our strategic areas. We were able to connect for all the team members on the business, IT, and product side, how the work is actually decomposed so that team members could actually see directly what they were working on and how it actually impacted the strategic capabilities that we were trying to deliver. So we've gotten a lot of excitement in the organization in that, and we look forward to pressing it a little bit further.
Yep, it's exciting, but we're still just crawling our way there right now. The last two, I'll wrap these up pretty quick. We're just starting to dabble in these. The one thing that we're doing that I think, I heard some people earlier say, oh, we saved finance till the end, we saved funding models till the end. We did not save funding models till the end because we feel like follow the money, money is power. If we can get the funding model shifted early and shifted towards capacity-based planning and products, we're funding products and teams, not projects and programs, it forces the organization to start thinking differently. So we have had, we've spent probably the last 8 months working with the finance organization, and we actually have pilots stood up in 2 of our portfolios where we are funding by products right now, which is like, I'm not even sure how it happened, but I'm super glad we had some good partners in finance, to be honest, and our CIO and CFO have really partnered to help us with that. So we think that that's going to really help push some of this adoption much quicker because our motto is now no products, no money. You don't have your products defined, we can't really fund them because that's how we're funding now. So we are getting there. That's a crawl. And then the last one, we don't do a good job of anticipating our customer needs at all. We tend to react to them, or we tend to look and see what the guys down the street here in Atlanta are doing. And we're struggling to make it stick, right? So we're trying to figure out how do we actually make this stuff stick and we don't backslide into the old ways of working. So that's kind of where we are. Like I said, 2 years in, and we know we got a long way to go, so we are not there. We are exactly where we are, and that's exactly where we're supposed to be.
So Gene, we're actually introducing a new level as well. So I believe you had the toddler, and what was that last one?
Oh yeah, that's pre-crawl, right?
Yep.
So the swaddler, she's the swaddle.
Swaddler. Yep.
We're
So
in
toddler and
swaddle.
swaddler. You heard it
Toddler
here
and
first,
swaddler. You can add those to your framework because you need more. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, thanks everybody.